Hello there, and welcome to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast, where we'll have a little fun, lots of laughs, and discussions on the common sense that needs to be applied to a lot of today's world news issues. And now, the disclaimer. Stay Off My Lawn is not intended as legal, medical, or financial advice. Void where prohibited. No purchase necessary to win. Open to legal U.S. residents 18 or older in the contiguous 48 states. Any resemblance to anyone living or deceased is purely coincidental. Actual price may vary. Only use as directed. Not a member of FDIC. And now, here are your hosts, Mike and Richard.
Hi, welcome to this week's episode of Stay Off My Lawn. It is July 8th, 2025, and this is episode 125.
That's right. And here we are, folks, in our own little caverns. I'm back.
We are back.
As back as I can be, you know. I mean, we're back to knowing each other nipples up.
So. People just don't say nipples up enough. I think it's just something that we should probably say more often.
Oh, we had a great time being together. We had some good barbecue, a lot of great visiting, and it was awesome. And we both sort of somewhat enjoyed our 5-hour drives back to our respective places.
It wasn't terrible. About halfway back, Barbara said, "You want me to drive?" It's like, "Yes, please." So she drove the rest of the way home. And, it's white knuckle traveling when she's driving, but I mean, it's okay.
Yes. And then I had the rental car deal with one of the sensors on the tire that said, oh no. And it comes up, boom, covers the whole screen. And then that was not so bad because then it came back up and it was reading it. So same pressure. I just learned to ignore it. It was when the transmission went out on the way home, or tried to go out on the way home. First time we got off the freeway, and then we sat there at the stoplight because you get off and then you're on a 2-lane road again. Oh, joy. Halfway through Virginia, got off the beautiful roads of North Carolina to crap in Virginia. And we're pulling away, and there's a redneck pickup. Yes, we have those up here where I'm at. It had been lowered and had exhaust pipes this big sticking out the back. And I thought he was revving it up. Whoa. No, that was me revving up. The car wouldn't shift out of first gear. Thank you, Chrysler product.
This episode brought to you by Chrysler and Enterprise.
That's right. Pull off to the side. I didn't know what else to do about it. Turned it, put it in. It only had park, reverse, neutral, and drive. That was all there was, and the little turning knob that you have. Put it in park. We sat there for 5-6 minutes. I went, well, let's see if that didn't reset things by putting it in park. I'll be darned if it didn't work. So every time we came to a stoplight and had to stop again, as long as we were stopped, throw that sucker over into park, put it back over in drive, and away we got us the rest of the way home. So
then you got back and you went into Karen mode and said, let me talk to the manager.
Well, I just went. I didn't really have to do that. It was a gentleman go, you're checking in, and I'm dropping the car off. So, how did your trip go? Everything go well? I went, as a matter of fact, no. And they go from, hey, everything went well to, it didn't?
What?
Oh no. What?
We gave him the Jeep. Oh,
not that. So anyway, it got me there and got me back. I'm not someone who says you need to take the whole day off for the rental. Just give me $40 off of a $200 rental. I'm good. It got me there and home. So, there was that.
You're nicer than a lot of people would have been on that, because that's
they were. So if we do just that, I used to run route and take care of customers, and there would always be that one every once in a while, that one little thing happened and they wanted their whole bill wiped out. Yeah. Really? Come on. Really?
That is how
I didn't want to be one of those people that didn't like that. But at any rate, we had a wonderful time.
We did have a good
grandkids. We had, I got to see my grandson play 5 games. Got to see him win districts, and then they went all the way to the semifinals for the state tournament in Virginia for their age group. And that's all the farther they got. But the team they lost to was the team that won the state tournament. So they did a pretty amazing, not too many kids even get to play in a state tournament. Yep. So we had a blast. It was, we had one day where the daughter said, well, I know you're an early riser. I like how she talked to me like she was a teenager still at home. Cracked me up. And we were thinking about getting up and going and seeing. I've lived here 9 years now, and we've never seen a sunrise they're 30 minutes from the beach.
Oh my gosh.
in Virginia Beach and never seen a sunrise. So I said, she goes, I know you're an early riser, meaning someone else in my party is not. And she's correct.
Who could that be?
Who would that? Oh, if I could only think of the name, the initials are Nancy.
I think she, yeah. I was going to say she's similar to Barbara, but yeah, it's a Nancy. Same thing.
So anyway, we got up at 4:00 in the morning. It was a fun adventure. We're out there on the beach and it was just beautiful. And I even got some video that all of a sudden I see a dolphin and there's dolphins popping up and down, going across in front of us. It was just a cool experience that didn't cost anything. Yeah. We got donuts at the local bakery that's in the little grocery store that's there. They were phenomenal.
Oh, wow.
So anyhow, we just had fun. I helped. They had a pizza pool party. They said, well, we've got people coming. I said, okay, you need some help? I said, I'll roll out the dough and take care of that. She helped make them, and my son-in-law put them in his solo pizza oven. And we fed 25 people in a matter of around an hour and a half.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty good for cooking one pizza at a time.
I would think so. Yeah.
So
get in line.
Anyhow, lots of fun playing in their pool. It was a wonderful 2 weeks until we came home.
I was going to say, it seems like a long time. I mean, normally you go to visit somebody, it's like, Fish and Company are both, they start going bad after about 3 days. So, I mean.
Well, when it's a whole entire day in an airplane to get there, I'm going to make it last. So usually we're around 10, 11 days, but by going just a little bit extra on the day that we left, it cut about $350 off the cost of going back. And I'm cheap. So,
it's well worth it.
Yeah. And I did get to finish putting in a new door keypad for their garage door opener. So, because neither one of them was like,
I get that call all the time. It's like, I helped put up a couple of ceiling fans and faucets. And it's like, and my daughter-in-law called me about a month ago. She said something about, you know how to put in a toilet? I go, no. I said, I've seen it done, but I've never done it. She goes, okay. So she found somebody that knew how to do it. And it's like, okay. Because I reached out to a friend of mine that's a plumber. It's like, he wanted $400 to take out an old toilet and put a new one in. I'm like going, man, I appreciate your professionalism, but goodness gracious. So, I mean, so they got.
That's why plumbers drive Mercedes and BMWs. Exactly. They make good money, and it's not a glamour job, but
plumbers, electricians.
You have to know a lot of stuff to make it all work.
It's a lot of training.
Yeah, no, I've done toilets.
Yeah,
I've fixed a leak when a wax ring went out, and you take it all. It's not that hard.
No,
it's just tedious.
Yeah.
YouTube's got a lot of videos on that kind of thing.
Yeah, I just didn't have the motivation for some reason. And she's probably listening, so I mean, I just like I don't know if I want to test it out on somebody I know. I mean, if it's somebody I don't know, I'll give it a shot. But I mean, it's my son and daughter-in-law's house. My granddaughters live. I'm not going to mess up the plumbing over there. So I mean, it's like I'd rather.
Well, we had a good time coming home. It's a lovely story, and I won't get into it other than it took us 24 hours from the time I got up, finished getting the packing, get taken to the airport, blah, 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 and get home. It was due to weather, mechanical issues. There was just innumerable things. It took us, my time here, we got up at 4:30 in the morning, but it was 6:30 in the morning Eastern, but it was 4:30 from when we got home. We finally got in bed at 5:00 in the morning.
Yeah. You texted
That's
me.
why I wasn't on last week's show, folks. I was like,
you texted me my time at 6:45, something like that. My time, and it was like it's a dude, just sleep. Don't worry about it. And so I was Richardless last week, and Richard said he listened to it, and I sounded lost. And
I was watching you, and you were kind of like, I don't.
Well, I had no.
You're like missing your other arm, or something.
I didn't have anybody to bounce it off of. I was by myself.
Well, we did enjoy, and our visit was fun. Just something to do. It's like, you know what? I've never met him in person. We're going to be within 5 hours of each other if we meet in the middle. And it was just a fun adventure. And it wasn't horribly spendy, and it was something that I wouldn't have changed.
Yeah, it was very good.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
so the daughter didn't have to put up with it for 2 of the 15 days we were there.
See, everybody needs a break sometimes.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I did mention last week that we're in 43 countries now. We just added Macedonia.
Woohoo!
So
Yes, I saw that. I went,
yeah.
who to what on you?
Yeah.
Yeah, Macedonia's
Yeah.
listening to us.
Yeah, I
Okay,
know. I know.
maybe once, and that'll be it.
Welcome, you Macedonians. It sounds like I'm saying something terrible. But anyway,
Okay, the fun's gone. Now we're into some just heavy
yeah,
news this week.
we've got
Oy,
some
oy, oy.
heavy news. If you're praying people, please keep the families of the battalion chiefs, John Morrison and Frank Harwood from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. They were the ones that got ambushed. If you saw the news story, and got killed. They were at their the station, right? At the fire
No,
station.
it was they went to a fire that the
they
clown
were
who
at a
shot
fire.
them started.
Okay.
And he used to really like the fire department. I don't know what his beef was. Maybe he tried to become a fireman and they wouldn't take him. I don't know. All I know is he took the, for lack of a better term, coward's way out, and they did not have to track him down. So they really still don't have much for answers what the actual problem was. And if you've ever been up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, look it up online. You're not going to find a more beautiful place in America. It is just gorgeous up there. So
it's just sad when people feel like they have to take somebody's life over, and there's no good reason. I don't care what his reasoning was. There's just no good reason.
That's not something that should have been. And there was another gentleman that's already had 3 surgeries that was also hit, and he's in critical condition but improving.
Oh, good.
So that's kind of where it's at the moment.
And speaking of ambushes, I think it was Sunday down in McAllen, Texas. There was an attempted ambush on Border Patrol agents. They just shot at the Border Patrol office building, or the little shed or whatever they were in. Seems like a disturbing trend. Thankfully, he got between 30 and 60 rounds off at this place, and I think there was only 1 injury. But they shot back and they killed him back. So
they were a lot more accurate than he was. Let's just put it that way.
But they checked his vehicle. He drove all the way down from Michigan to do this whole thing, and he had like a whole arsenal in his car. So I mean, what he could have done if they did not take him out, it's disturbing. The whole thing is disturbing. Why? He's got a Hispanic name, so maybe there was somebody that got deported and he's got to blame somebody. Think with your brain, people. I mean, I understand emotions get involved, but think with your brain. And obviously, we're not talking to people who have common sense. We're talking to people who have common sense. Those kind of people are not listening to our show. So this is all falling on deaf ears.
Well, those that just trotted their way across the border that were let into this country think that they belong here, and they don't.
They don't.
Especially that type of individual.
Again.
And I don't know any more about that one either. I just barely heard about it. So unfortunately, if the Dems don't stop egging these people on, they need to be taken out. I've heard several Dems say those words. That's not good.
Those are not the word. Well, if the Republicans said that, every news story in the country would have been repeating that clip would have been on repeat everywhere.
And that's my issue is the propaganda machine that's out there pushing all this stuff. There's got to be something done about it, because the constant lies from quote unquote news people, that's got to come to a halt. Not only news people, and I understand politicians lie, but what they're lying about is just wrong to do anything with.
Oh, I know. I know. And speaking of politicians lying, please keep in your prayers the families of those lost and yet to be found at those flash flooding tragedy in Central Texas this past weekend too. They're still finding more, and the last number I heard was less than what Richard told me this morning. So they said we're over 100 already. And there's still a lot of people. The wife told me
last night that was the latest last evening. I have not checked yet this morning, but it was 104, 105, something like that.
It's more of a recovery issue now rather than but anyway, it's just so sad, and they're politicizing the crap out of this, and it's just I can't stand it. I mean, it's Trump's fault that we have flash flooding in Central Texas. Goodness gracious. Did you hear about the Houston pediatrician that got fired?
Yes, I did. Oh, heavens, yes.
She wrote a since deleted post on her old Facebook username called
but it's still out on the internet everywhere.
Go to Libs of TikTok. I think it's all over there. That's where I found this. She wrote, "May all visitors, children, non-MAGA voters, and pets be safe and dry." Let me see. Kerr County MAGA voted to gut FEMA. They deny climate change. They get what they voted for. Bless their hearts. So this is a pediatrician. This is a doctor. I mean, it's hard to believe that somebody.
She has been fired, by the way, if you weren't aware of that fact. Yes, she is no longer employed. As soon as that came out, she was canned within hours of that showing up.
And credit to Bluefish Pediatrics for doing the right thing and getting rid of that. They came out with a statement that says, "We do not support or condone any statements that politicize tragedy, diminish human dignity, or fails to clearly uphold compassion for every child and family, regardless of background or beliefs." So anyway, it's not just this lady. I mean, there's just a bunch of people that have tried to politicize all this stuff. And Eric Erickson, if you're not familiar with him, he's actually local to Atlanta, but he is syndicated all over the country. He has a show from noon to 3 Eastern, opposite of Clay and Buck. So if you don't have Clay and Buck, you probably have him. But he did have a little bit of update on all the politicization of all this stuff. So here it is.
The number of Democrats this weekend who saw the dead in Texas and the rivers rise and decided it's Donald Trump's fault is staggering. Democratic politicians from across the nation, Democratic activists. And by the way, the actual weather experts have said the National Weather Service cuts that the left are blaming have no responsibility for what happened. To look at this and immediately jump to political machinations and political failures is to admit that you worship the idol of politics. Normal people do not jump to political conclusions in times of tragedy. Normal people do not wonder how government budget cuts caused girls to die and drown at a camp. Normal people do not look at a situation like this and immediately jump into the political conclusions. They pray. They contribute money. And you know, the worst thing about it is that all of these people, including people at CNN and MSNBC and ABC, CBS, NBC, even the New York Times got in on the act. You know what they did? They jumped immediately to the political calculus because they worship at the idol altar of gods of politics. They ignored the heroism of the Coast Guard swimmer who saved by himself 165 people in the raging waters. They ignore all the people in Texas who stood up on their own without the government telling them what to do to save lives. They ignore all of that because they worship at the altar of politics. They are idol worshipers of the worst kind. And so they went immediately to political conclusions instead of recognizing this is a natural disaster that came upon people quickly in the middle of the night while they slept. That's what happened.
And, I think it was Rahm Emanuel that was, I don't know whether it was Obama's attorney general. I can't remember what he was. He went on to be mayor of Chicago, I think. But anyway, he said, never let a good disaster go to waste or a good tragedy go to waste. And
Schumer was out BS and saying the same thing. He was blaming. It's like, really? You're desperate to try and stay in the Senate. I know. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Republicans don't do this. Every once in a while they do. And I will call them out when they do it too.
Heavens, yes.
It's just awful. It's just awful. These are people's lives. People lost their kids. I mean, Buddy Carter, one of the Congress people from here in Georgia, his granddaughters were at that camp that all this happened to. And we just found out, I think last night, Barbara had told me that she read a story that they found them alive and everything's okay. But
I mean, there's not much of that finding them alive. It's pretty much, it's just sad. You see pictures of these cute kids that are no longer with us. And it's just one of those things where I think it rose 27 feet in something like 3 hours. Yeah. I mean, it just came in and all of a sudden, it was a wall of water that just.
Sure. Well, they had,
It's just bad.
and we talked about this off the air. Is that they had this? They had a bad drought for the last several years, and so and you know all about drought. We
Oh
don't.
yeah,
We don't
here
experience
we're
it
in the
much
high
here.
desert, folks, and if you don't have water, nothing grows but sagebrush. I'm just telling you, it doesn't happen. And if we get a rain, or say you water something and then you don't water it again for another couple weeks, you got to get out a pickaxe to try and break the ground up.
That ground
It
is
is
rock
hard.
hard.
So the water just goes right over it.
Yeah. So that's tragedy, and you try to blame it on climate like that pediatrician tried to do. It's like, tragedies, these flash floods have happened for millennia. I mean, it's not because somebody was driving their Honda Accord back in the 1600s. Come on now.
It's just it's things that happen here and there, and when it built up and then whoosh, down it went. At 4 o'clock in the morning, what are you supposed to do?
Exactly. And how groggy are you at 4 in the morning, and how clear thinking are you at 4 in the morning? So it's like, unfortunately, it's just how it turned out anyway. So if you're praying people, please keep those all these stories in your prayers, and let God comfort them, and only the only way He can do. So anyway, when we are up against a break already, when we come back, we're going to talk about the pharmaceutical industry and how it's so different than just about every other industry. You're gonna like this. So hang in there.
Yeah. Oh, they have their ways, don't they?
Yes, they do. Hang in there. We'll be right back.
They're not listening, are they?
Stay tuned for more of the stay off my lawn, peed, but the thing. Anyway, they'll be right back.
Bud Light presents Real Men of Genius.
Real Men of Genius.
Today we salute you, Mr. In the Car Nose Picker.
Mr. In the Car Nose Picker.
For you, the daily commute isn't simply a drive to the office. It's a hands-on exploration deep into your schnoz.
I'm going in now.
With pinpoint accuracy and sheer determination, you dig for boogers like miners dig for gold.
Hit the jackpot.
And why do you do it? 'Cause the windows are up and you think we can't see you. We can.
How you doing?
So crack open an ice cold Bud Light, oh nabber of the nose nugget. We'd like to shake your hand, but you'll have to wash it first.
Mr. In the Car Nose Picker.
Bud Light Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
All right, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 2, and the pharmaceutical industry, sponsored by Pfizer and Moderna.
Brought to you by Pfizer.
Exactly. It's unique in many, many ways. But this guy named Aaron Siri, he's a civil rights expert and lawyer and managing partner of Siri and Glimstad. I've not seen this guy before, but anyway, he was testifying in front of Congress a few weeks ago, and he highlighted, because he's used to bringing suits against people that are that make products that, harm other people or whatever, that don't work the way they should. So anyway, he was testifying in front of Congress and explained how the vaccine or the pharmaceutical industry is different, and it probably shouldn't be.
For every product on the market, you can sue the manufacturer for harm, for design defect claims, meaning the claim that the product could have made safer. I mean, literally, look around this room, planes, cars, pharmaceutical drugs, every one. There's only one product in America. You cannot sue the manufacturer for design defect claim to claim that it could have been made safer, and that are vaccines. I heard, injections, vaccines. My definition of vaccine is any product for which the government needs to give it immunity from harms. To me, that's what a vaccine is, because some prevent infection, some don't. That's what a vaccine is, meaning it can't survive without that immunity, apparently. Why did vaccines get this immunity? Which was provided in 1986 under the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, because leading up to 86, there were only 3 routine childhood vaccines, MMR, OPV, and DTP, and they were causing so much harm and causing so much liability that all the manufacturers were going out of business to stop making them. And Congress, instead of forcing those manufacturers to do what every other product manufacturer needs to do in that situation, which is what? Make a better, safer product. Instead said, you know what? We're just going to give you immunity. We're going to make it so nobody can sue you for those harms. And you can keep selling your product to the American public no matter how many children it kills or injures. The issue is that immunity was not just given for those 3 products. It was given for any childhood vaccine, routine child vaccine that was developed thereafter. I sell you this not to take issue with childhood vaccines, but to explain to you the regulatory framework in which vaccines have developed over the last 40 years. We have now gone from 3 injections in the first year of life under the CDC schedule in 86 to 29 injections, including in utero, if a child follows the CDC schedule today. Every one of those vaccines, save one, was developed by a pharmaceutical company knowing they would not be responsible for the injuries that are caused by those products. So when you have drug trials where pharmaceutical companies, they care about losing money, they don't want to lose money on their drugs, they often do multi-year placebo-controlled trials before they get on the market because they don't want to end up upside down. They're there to make money. But with vaccine products, because they don't have that financial incentive, they have the disincentive. Almost every childhood vaccine in this country is licensed based on clinical trials with no placebo control, save for COVID-19 vaccine, often days or weeks, up to maybe 6 months of safety review after injection, and are often extremely underpowered. Those trials could never have really confirmed the safety of this product. And my submission to this committee laid out every single vaccine and put them in detail.
And that's what kind of brought it to the surface was the COVID vaccine, because they came out and said 75 years, they don't even have to tell you what's in it.
Yeah,
remember how
it's like, what? And there's more and more evidence that these kids, I mean, back in the day when I had to get my shots, there was like 4 or 5, maybe 3 or 4. It was next to nothing.
Right.
And they were things that, polio, blah, 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 all that stuff. It
got
was
that
a
gun
true
in the
vaccine
arm type thing.
Yeah, the little dots on the arm. Ask your grandparents; they'll show it to you. For you kids out there, ask your grandparents to see the little dots on the shoulder. Anyhow,
Grandpa,
that's how
show me your scars. Anyway,
but now, when you and I were in school, we hardly ever heard about a kid having autism. It just wasn't something that's there, let alone one that was nonverbal. Well, they're getting into, there's too many of these vaccines that child is normal and all of a sudden they go in for another round of shots. I think, what did I hear, up to the age of 18? If they take all of them up through 18, it's like 72 shots.
Oh, goodness gracious.
It's like, are you kidding me?
Well, it's
and
like,
as many as they're giving a little tiny baby, good gravy, their body can't handle that.
No. Oh, it's like
they're fine. That's what mother's milk is for, is immunity. I mean, it's a colostrum, just like animals when they're born. They need to get that first shot of milk from mom, and that gives them their immunities. And they don't give a chance. It strips away the immunity, and it's causing a lot of problems.
It's like our friend Corey that came on the show a few weeks ago. I mean, it broke my heart when he told me that. I didn't know that story before he said it on the show. But his son took the one of his boosters and is like, it almost like it shut him off. I mean,
it's like an off switch.
Terrible.
They're coming out with things now, and I see it every once in a while. How well they work, I don't know, but to detoxify some of that stuff, there's ways of getting it out of this system and moving on. I don't know how it works, but
if the pharmaceutical companies came up with it, it worries me.
Yeah, well, you got the American Cancer Society. They haven't cured crap, and they've been around since what, the 30s or somewhere 40s, something like that. Been around for a long time. Well, if you find something to cure it, you're out of business.
Well, the thing is,
and you can't do that.
That drove it home for me. When my dad had cancer in the 70s, his treatment was very similar to mine 50 years later. It's like, you've got to be kidding me. It was chemo, radiation, and surgery. Same thing. It was everything. I mean, different equipment maybe, but it was all the same thing.
I'm not a pharmaceutical fan. There's too many things that, we try to stay away from it. Knock on wood.
No flu shots.
A hard surface, as you can hear. The one that's just outside between the eyes. Not the smartest person in the world, but
you just got to be careful. That's all. Just make a good choice and do your research, and figure it out. I mean, don't be a sheep. Just don't be a lemming and just follow what everybody says. COVID just brought this home for us. I mean, for me, it boiled it all up to the surface. And you should think about things before you do them. Liz Wheeler,
when they were pushing things that hard, we went, no. There's something.
It was every news story every night. It was almost like a drinking game you could have on the 6 o'clock news.
True.
If they every time they
Well,
mentioned
that's how
COVID,
often you had to have a booster. So I guess you could have got a booster every time that they.
they're still giving up boosters.
Oh, I know. It's like, don't forget, you can get your booster at your no. Not happening.
And we stream everything, so it's like and of course I'm cheap, so we still see the commercials because we have the lower tier. But this whole if it's COVID, Paxlovid. I mean, it's like, so they're still trying to push this whole anti-COVID pill and everything. They are milking this for everything it's worth.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's like, who is still testing for COVID? It's 2025, for goodness sake. It blows my mind.
And it's funny. We were just talking about this the other day. It's like, I've not heard of that disease. What are they trying to cure that I've never heard of before?
See?
So all of a sudden there's this new disease. You have to be a Resvir, but whatever it is.
Yeah.
No. If you're old and you're at home during the day, you can watch all these drug commercials constantly.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
And they'll scare you into, oh no, I just go, whatever. Here's another one. I'm not taking crap.
No.
Oh, you got to do this. You got to get that. You got to go get this shot. No, I don't.
How did humans survive on the planet for thousands of years without all these shots that we all of a sudden, since 1986, did all this stuff? It's incredible.
But what did Liz say? I interrupted you.
No,
go ahead.
You're good.
See, you did better last week without me because you didn't have any interruptions.
But it wasn't as fun. But I mean, Liz Wheeler uncovered a story that's not getting much airtime about this now infamous jab. So here's that.
Bombshell new study from Yale Medical School finds people suffering from long COVID are actually suffering from mRNA vaccine injury. As if that's bad enough, it's worse than that. These people are suffering from what's called vaccine-induced AIDS. It's called VAIDS. This is from Slay News. Leading scientists from the world-renowned Yale University have confirmed that COVID mRNA vaccines cause vaccine-acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, VAIDS. A bombshell study conducted by researchers at Yale University School of Medicine found that mRNA injections alter human biology to create long-term spike protein production that increases over time. The scientists warned that the COVID mRNA vaccines alter T-cell immunophenotypes, which triggers VAIDS. The study was led by Bornali Bhattacharya. So not only were we collectively forced to take an experimental vaccine or risk losing our jobs, we were lied to about it. It didn't stop you from contracting or transmitting the virus. It wasn't safe. It caused heart issues, blood clots, autoimmune disorders. We were censored when we questioned the madness. And now we find out that the mRNA jab causes VAIDS in many people. This is one of the most egregious scandals in American history.
I think the first clue for me was, and before I knew anything about spike protein or anything like that, was when it was called mRNA. And it's like anything that messes with your RNA, ribonucleic acid, I don't think that should be messed with.
And alters your DNA.
Exactly.
It's like, I heard something to that effect, went, oh, hell no. Nope. I'm not a scientist, but I ain't stupid, and I read.
Exactly. Exactly. I still remember a little bit of biology from high school. I know RNA is pretty important to the DNA. So yeah, we shouldn't mess with that.
The two are kind of mutually exclusive.
Yeah, they're connected somehow.
They're on a date that stays together.
You got to go home with who you came with. So I think that's how that works. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's just sad. And you and I both have said the people I know that got COVID all had the shot and boosters.
Oh, yeah. And they've had COVID multiple times.
It could have been a lot. Could have been a lot worse if I hadn't. You wouldn't have got it at all.
No.
Jeez.
Well, the thing is, like, how bad can it be when you need a test kit to find out whether you have it or not? I mean, I used to know when I had the flu years ago. I mean, I used to get the flu quite a bit when I was younger and working night shift and everything. And it's like your immune system isn't working up to speed. I mean, you got the flu. But, I always knew, well, this feels like the flu. I can't taste anything.
Nobody
I feel like
questioned
crap.
the fact there wasn't any flu for almost 2 years.
Exactly.
Well, where did flu go? Well, that's because everybody got the shot. No, there's lots of people dying from COVID, as they're saying.
I remember somebody came out. They said, "Well, the flu is not spreading around because people are wearing masks." It's like, well, if people are wearing masks, it's keeping the flu at bay. Why isn't it working with the COVID? And it's like,
Yeah,
they had no answer.
It's because they're wearing masks. No, that's not it.
Stupid.
Wrong answer. Try again. Well, and they've scared some people so bad they're still wearing masks.
I know.
It cracks me up. It's like, what?
I see this one lady quite often. She's still got a mask on, but it's always down around her chin. And I'm thinking, why do you put it on? I mean, what is that? It's just, I think it's just habit for some people. It's like, what?
Well, and I saw a guy that had a kid that he had put a mask on, make sure it's on your nose and blah, 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 wearing it like you're supposed to. And he had a 2 meter. You're gassing yourself out. You're not breathing much oxygen in. You're breathing in what you pushed out that's supposed to help plants.
It's called hypoxia.
And last time I looked, we're not a plant.
No. Hypoxia is a real thing, so you got to be careful.
Yes, it is.
So anyhow, next thing, sports journalist Stephen A. Smith. There's no transition there. I'm just
not even. It's just moving on.
Why did
we killed that horse? It's glue. It's in the Elmer's bottle. It's already out of the factory.
Why I even brought attention to it, I have no idea. One of my favorite people, Stephen A. Smith. I like him because he's honest and he tells you exactly what he thinks. Whether I agree with him or not is another story on a lot of things. But he's been spouting a lot of truth here lately. He was on The View a couple of months ago.
Jeez.
And I saw this clip then, but it came by my feed again, and I thought I'd share it in light of all the people that are saying that Trump being elected was not a mandate for all these changes that he's making. But Joy Behar, who was not very smart, she liked to throw out there, it's not a mandate, he only won by... Anyway, Stephen A. Smith straightened her out, and this is how that went. It's beautiful.
He's been going around with his cronies touting his so-called landslide and blowout win. But he won the popular vote by 1.5%, one of the smallest ever, and he won the general election by less than 50%. So what kind of mandate is this really?
Well, it is a mandate, and I'm going to explain why. And I don't mind the question, but let me be very clear. I'm no supporter of Trump. I'm a supporter of truth and the facts. And here's the facts. The man won every swing state. He increased in terms of his voter turnout in his favor from the standpoint of blacks, Latinos, and young voters. He increased his numbers in that regard from 2020. 89% of the counties shifted to the right. That's a mandate. We can sit up there and play around all we want to. In 2020, Trump didn't win the popular vote. He didn't win the electoral college vote. A matter of fact, the Republicans hadn't won the popular vote, if I remember correctly, since 2004. But they did this year. So 20 years after they last won the popular vote, they won the popular vote. They won the electoral college vote. The man won every swing state. And on top of it all, 89% of the counties shifted against. I don't understand how people can look at that and say, there's no mandate. There's a mandate.
So he straightened her out pretty good.
He starts out talking about stuff, and I just love his enthusiasm because it just gets up and he's spitting all over the set. And he just goes to town with it. And it's they just kind of went, okay. Yeah, they didn't have anything to say back to him. Well, yeah, but no, 1.5%. This is not what happened. When you have 89% of counties went red, I'm sorry. Yep. That's a mandate.
Absolutely. No doubt. I mean, and there's a lot of people I know that have always voted Democrat that have turned down, they supported Trump because they saw the ineptness of Biden and the people that were surrounding him. Now they found out there's like 5 people who were actually running the auto pen and actually running the office, which some of those people were like the chief of staff for Jill, of all people. I mean, who knew Jill had a chief of staff? But
wait,
anyway.
That's a good thing on the auto pen. Pocahontas, what's her name? Elizabeth Warren. Yeah. I couldn't think of her name.
She drives a white Cherokee. No, that's something else.
She had been approved to use the auto pen on something via the auto pen.
Oh my goodness gracious.
So they used his auto pen to sign that it was okay for her to use the auto pen.
It's like approving a warrant on ChatGPT. I mean, what? Goodness gracious. But these people
I just heard that. Yes, I'm going, No, actually, I didn't hear. I saw it, and there is a lot of folks. They're going, uh-oh.
Yeah. I mean,
And the Supreme Court is just about to nullify all the pardons that were given out.
oh, really? Okay, good. Good.
Yeah, because they were all done with the auto pin.
Yeah.
And Biden was not in the office. He only showed up 6 times the last 6 months.
Really? I did not know
And
that.
all the more he was in the White House. So if he's not there, how do you tell somebody it's okay to do what?
You can't.
What are you doing?
Oh, he probably, I'm sure he's a good texter. I mean, can you imagine being in that text thread? I think that would be fantastic.
Anyhow, yeah, no, there's because anybody in and out of the White House, whoever it is, via president or otherwise, is always accounted for. You go in that White House, they know what door, who you were, when you came, the whole shooting match.
Oh, sure. They couldn't find out who had they couldn't find out who left the cocaine behind in the bathroom.
Who left the snow behind? Yeah.
Speaking of cover-ups in the White House, see, we did have a transition there. There's a lot of heat is coming down on Pam Bondi now because of the Epstein info that supposedly is not there anymore, or there was never there, whatever. Buck Sexton gave a little bit of a response on he was being interviewed, and I can't remember who was interviewing him, but he gave a little bit of insight on that.
So let's just take a step back for a second here. We were told by people with access that there was a lot more coming. And now they drop a Sunday night memo saying, sorry, there's no there in any capacity whatsoever, case closed. That's just not going to fly. There needs to be more of an explanation about things like, for example, where did all of his money come from? And let me be clear, maybe this information is more available or is out there. The FBI and others, the DOJ could make this something that's pretty easy, I think, for people to get their hands on. They should do so. Where did the money come from? Why were there so many levels of systemic failure within the justice system to actually get any real prosecutions going of this individual, given the 1,000 victims they estimate that he victimized over the course of his heinous acts? Why is it that so many people with connections into the government thought there was more going on here? There's a lot here. Well, now maybe some of this is evidence that was destroyed previously by the administration. I think that's quite possible. I don't believe some people have been flipped in this Trump administration stuff that's out there, knowing the individuals who are involved, but they may only be able to work with what they have, and what they have, it seems, certainly isn't enough to answer all the questions the public has.
Now, supposedly there is a video out there of Epstein actually killing himself. There's a special on Netflix, and I forgot what it's called. Something about Epstein. Anyway, it's about the whole story. I think it's like 3 or 4 episodes. Now, I'll warn you first, if you go to watch this, the first episode where these girls are being harvested, for lack of a better term, you want to take a shower after that. It's just absolutely disgusting.
Yeah. I couldn't get through it.
Yeah.
It came up, and we do have Netflix, and we rarely go to it. And I went, I would just like to see a little bit about the. Nope,
it was really.
Can't do it.
It's really gross. Yeah, you're going to need a shower. But the second and third, and if there's a 4th episode, I don't remember. It kind of digs into the background and how all this kind of stuff, how he came to have so much influence and power, and where he had a ranch in New Mexico, and he had his own private island, that big place in New York that was worth $70 million that was given to him. It's just a lot of shady stuff. The guy was shady as he could be. And I truly believe, I think Buck touched on that I think the previous administration, there were so many culpable people within that administration. I think they got rid of a lot of that. There's a lot of shredding that was going on in the DOJ and the FBI. So,
but
we may not get to
the
it.
Doge folks have dug up a lot of evidence that they thought they'd gotten rid of. They supposedly deleted a terabyte of information. Doge found it all.
There was a room that they had set aside that had a bunch of stuff that they thought was hidden.
Not to mention the digitally shredding or deleting of and
bleach bit or whatever.
They had, and located it. How about that? Isn't that amazing?
Now, I hope Pam Bondi doesn't continue to disappoint. I hope that she actually will do something about all this. We really want to see some heads roll. I want to see somebody in cuffs. I think I said that last week, but it's just things aren't happening fast enough for me. goodness gracious.
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't been in office 6 months. She hasn't been there, maybe 5 months.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many things and what's taken place in that tiny, short little window that we're only 6 months into his presidency. As of the 20th of this month, we're not there yet.
But the window is closing. And, because once you get to the midterms, things might just kind of get bogged down a little bit. And I would hope that she could get this done before then. So let's hope.
Yep.
We are up against a break. When we come back, we're going to hear from CNN's Van Jones about this whole Iran thing and why Iran had to be dealt with. And actually, he has some really good insight. It sounds like he's actually thinking with his brain matter this time rather than what he normally sits on. So it's kind of refreshing. So
yes, he stood up when he talked and we could finally understand what he was saying.
Yes, that's exactly right. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
When Uncle Joe was asked what he thought of Mike and Richard, he said,
These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
We'll take that as a compliment. Stay off my lawn. We'll be right back.
Hey, wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind, like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest.
Uh-oh.
Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. To learn your risk, take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
All right, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 3, and we're on our way down the home stretch.
Yoo-hoo, I get to eat soon.
Yeah, me too.
I'm going to ruin my girlish figure. Yay!
I got an enchilada that's all thawed out.
Got your name on it?
My wife makes me a big pan of these enchiladas, and we put them all away, and it's like I thaw them out 2 at a time, and they're fantastic. Even some liberal progressives are starting to get why Iran had to be dealt with by the world if we want to have everlasting peace in the world, or at least in the Middle East. And really, this kind of surprised me. I heard this clip from Van Jones, one of the political pundits on CNN, and he's actually making some good sense. I got to give credit where credit is due. And so here's Van Jones talking about that.
He's buying himself some time in some room. I was also in the Holy Land very recently. I think progressives underestimate how dangerous Iran is. Iran is not a normal country. Normal countries don't blind women because they showed some hair. They don't empower little gangs and proxies to surround a country and fire rockets and rape people. So Iran, the two things are clear. The what, they cannot have a bomb, and the why, because they say death to America, death to Israel, and death to all the Jews. One of those should offend you if you're progressives. At least one should offend you. And so the question, though, is the who and the how. Is Israel going to take out this nuclear capacity by dropping people there who blow it up? Or is America going to take it out by dropping a bomb that blows it up? But the what and the why are clear, and I think progressives should get on board with that. We cannot have a nuclear-armed Iran. I was in the region. You were in the region. This is a very dangerous power that cannot get a nuclear weapon.
I love that he's making sense. He's actually thinking. So I like it.
Yeah, it's not our favorite conservative on there reminding them how it makes sense. So yeah, and people go, oh, well, then what about... Okay, that was so selective. And not only that, the people of Iran are loving this. When they took out, 10 or 9 out of the top 10 or 11 generals went into their quarters, or gone. They're gone.
That was Israel
so
that shot those rockets.
The military.
Yeah,
what's that?
That was Israel that shot those rockets. I mean, they could hit a coffee cup from Jerusalem. I mean, it's just amazing in Iran, which is 1,100 miles away or whatever. It's incredible what they can do. But thankfully, it seems like they're on their heels a little bit in Iran right now, and like I said, even the lefties and Scott Jennings was part of that roundtable discussion, and he was shaking his head. He's like, "Oh, I love what you're saying here, Mr. Jones. It's great."
Yeah, he didn't have a whole lot to.
No,
don't don't disagree with that. You're right on right now, which doesn't happen very often.
Certainly does not. No, normally he's the one that they're all trying to argue with or whatever. But anyway, as far as New York City, they've got some issues going on here.
That toddling town.
Zohran Mamdani, the guy who won the Democratic primary for mayor, beat out Andrew Cuomo, which, he's got his own issues, but he's not as bad as this guy. This whole thing has raised a lot of eyebrows all over the country with all of his stances in the past. This is a video put out by the New York Post explaining what all this could mean if he won the general election and becomes mayor of New York City. And here it is.
A lot of us think that Zohran Mamdani, the Democratic nominee for mayor, is a lightweight. But that doesn't mean he's not dangerous, that his victory in the fall, should that happen, won't be terrible for New York City. Because he comes with some very pernicious heavyweight backing. That is, he is running as the selected candidate of the Democratic Socialists of America. It was their organization that put him over the top, their fundraising that was crucial to him winning. And he is obviously a believer, insofar as he believes in anything anyway, in that agenda. He's actually said in the past that he believes in seizing the means of production, which is pretty much about as Marxist as you get, not just small-scale socialism, but hardcore quasi-communist socialism. Well beyond Bernie Sanders, beyond even AOC, who was herself a Democratic Socialist pick. What does that mean? Well, it doesn't mean that he can just impose his agenda per se. He can't raise taxes on the rich much. Only property taxes can the city itself control, the mayor and the city council. You need the state to okay income tax hikes. But it does mean that he controls so much of city government. He controls the school systems. He controls the NYPD. Who does he put in charge of such major agencies? Does he put fellow Democratic Socialists? It's already been rumored that Jamal Bowman, who was driven out of a House seat in Westchester, would be his school's chancellor. Bowman is a former principal, a former teacher, who has a record of crazy DEI stuff, of opposing standards, of opposing excellence, of thinking that any different result is the result of racism. He's a terrible, terrible force in education, and he's basically what the Democratic Socialists would offer. They talk all the same about equity and justice and oppression, so he fits right in. For the NYPD, maybe he'd take Tiffany Caban, another big DSAer who ran for Queens DA, almost won, and is probably the closest the DSA comes to a policing specialist, although she specializes in being anti-cop. The NYPD is already facing an exodus of its best, of its veterans. Should Mamdani win, whoever he picks to put it to run the NYPD is going to force an exodus, unless he somehow turns around and before getting elected disavows everything he's ever said on this issue. He's not going to do that. He'll fudge, he'll dodge, he'll hem and haw. But in the end, Zohran Mamdani has nothing to offer but democratic socialism, plus, his head wave and his social media feed. There's nothing of substance that's good there. All the substance he carries with him is perilous for New York City. Let's hope he's defeated.
And, speaking of that exodus, I can see that happening the day after the election. If somebody's got their 20 years in, I bet they're gone.
It's well, as we were saying, you've got all these people that are going, okay, he's offering all this stuff of, we're going to take over the grocery stores and you're going to get free groceries and you're going to do this and we'll give you this. And that doesn't work. It's like we were saying off the air is, that country you left because there was nothing to eat and you were impoverished to no end. What's it called again? Oh, yeah, Venezuela.
Yeah.
And you came up here and now you want the crap you left. Why? Why are you that dumb to believe you're going to get, there isn't anything free, people.
No.
I've never gotten anything free that didn't come with a little string attached to it.
And supposedly when he came here, because he was born in Uganda, even though he's Indian, but he was born in Uganda. And when he went to apply to get into Columbia, I think it was, he actually put that he was African-American because he was born in Africa, because he knew, because he wasn't a great student, supposedly. I mean, his transcripts, he was very mediocre, but that got him in because that did give you a boost, at least at that time it did. So, I mean, he works the system. He knows how to work the system, but he's just dumb enough to think he's too
that, and he's a
smart for it.
dynamic speaker.
Yeah.
He happens to be like AOC is a dynamic speaker who has told more. Yeah, a girl from the Bronx, and she says it over and over and over, and she is no more from the Bronx than I am.
No, I know. She might have lived there for a couple of years, but I mean, she's from. Did you see that whole thing? I forgot who it was.
Yorktown.
Benny Johnson, I think, did this whole thing where she was in Yorktown.
This is where she's from, and an elite college she went to, and she's silver spoon all the way. People,
the town looked like a Hallmark Channel movie. I mean, it was.
Yes, she is not from the Bronx.
No,
ever.
Not.
Period.
Certainly not. News agencies are really hardly anyone in the country outside of New York City knew much about this guy before he started running for the Democratic primary. Didn't know anything about him or his beliefs, but his Twitter feed told us a lot of things. And here's that report.
In social media posts from 2015, Mamdani appears to defend the Yemeni-American al-Qaeda leader Anwar al-Awlaki, while criticizing and questioning the FBI surveillance of al-Awlaki in the aftermath of 9/11. At the time, al-Awlaki served as an imam at a Northern Virginia mosque that two of the hijackers had attended. Mamdani's post suggests the FBI surveillance is what, quote, eventually led him to al-Qaeda. Retired FDNY Lieutenant Jim McCaffrey, who lost a brother-in-law in the Twin Tower collapse, telling the New York Post, Mamdani's posts are very offensive to 9/11 victims and their families. Former New York Representative Peter King reportedly saying, Mamdani is making excuses and rationalizing al-Awlaki's joining al-Qaeda. He's trying to blame the U.S. for him becoming a terrorist. While Mamdani has a history of controversial comments on an array of topics, he focused his campaign on addressing the increasing cost of living problems for New Yorkers, a strategy even his critics say the country should pay attention to.
He tapped into the same thing that Donald Trump tapped into, which is that people are concerned that the economy is not working for them.
And socialism supposedly has the answers for that. And
yeah,
it's just,
let's see. Socialism. Yeah. Let's name all the places it's worked.
I think we just did.
There aren't any, never has been any, and there never will be any, because it doesn't take long, as the Iron Maiden herself used to say from Great Britain, it won't be long before you're running out of other people's money.
Yeah.
And Britain is about in that point right now.
They are certainly getting there.
And Ireland's right there at it as well.
Yeah.
And the Irish are fed up, by the way.
I think a lot of Europe is getting fed up with all this shift, and we're seeing the shift.
The populace
back.
was burning down the hotels where they were putting up all when I say they've had nothing, the Irish, once you get the ire of the Irish up, as they say, yeah, they've had it.
Yeah.
So.
We'll just have to wait and see. I think that everything is starting to shift. I think it started here and it's moving its way. Well, it started in really Hungary, but we are seeing it in different places. You got
no more. We're done.
Argentina, and it's all over the world. Actually, we are starting to see this.
Sweden.
But it's really concerning. This guy is so anti-Semitic. The most Jewish city in the country.
No kidding.
And it's it blows me away. Now, I think only 5% of the people showed up to vote in the primary, which is typical for primaries. But we'll just have to wait and see how this turns out at the end of the year, because this is very concerning.
There's a lot of information coming out about him, and if you vote this clown in, you deserve what you get, because if you're not checking on stuff, you need to be looking.
And how he feels about capitalism. CNN actually asked him this question, and you're not going to believe his answer. Well, you're probably going to believe his answer, but here's what he had to say.
So when people say democratic socialist, right, and I'm curious what you think this means. I mean, do you like capitalism?
No, I have many critiques of capitalism. And I think ultimately the definition for me of why I call myself a democratic socialist is the words of Dr. King decades ago. He said, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, there must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country. And that's what I'm focused on, is dignity and taking on income inequality. And for too long, politicians have pretended that we're spectators to that crisis of affordability. We're actually actors, and we have the choice to exacerbate it, like Mayor Adams has done, or to respond to it and resolve it, like I'm planning to do.
income inequality. I mean,
I don't remember hearing that from Dr. King, but I'm sure it's there may be something there. But that something is taken out of context.
Yeah,
I don't recognize that at all. And if he didn't just tell you he's a flat out communist,
that was it right there. Yeah.
The only thing that has freed more people in the world than anything else is capitalism. You can beef and is it perfect? Oh, hell, no system's perfect.
Of course not.
But to say that, we need to do away with that and go back to, we're going to tell you what you need. We're going to tell you what you can buy because we're going to give you digital money. And if you're buying stuff that you shouldn't be buying, then we're going to cut you off. Well, no, that's not how I want to live.
The socialist idea, it feeds to the lazy mind. It's like, I won't have to work all that hard. And
the lazy bodies too. I can get stuff for free.
Exactly.
People are having a conniption fit over able-bodied people on Medicaid need to work 20 whole hours a week.
It's incredible.
I saw a lady that was complaining that now her and her husband, neither one of them work. And it's like, well, now we're going to have to get a job.
Is this the one that was walking through Costco? Is that the one?
I don't remember where it was, but she was talking, somebody was doing an interview with him and they were on this. She was actually almost whining that they were going to have to get a job.
Oh,
really?
I know I saw a video where these two young people, they're probably in their late 20s, got 3 kids. Neither one of them work on Medicaid, walking through Costco. And I'm like going, there's no reason for you to be like this. I mean, and I don't think there was anything physically wrong with them. They seemed fine, except for maybe just too many Twinkies. But I mean, just go to work, for goodness sake. Maybe that'll strip some of the weight off you.
It's horrible. They're going to make us get a job and we have to work for a living.
When we were younger, that wasn't even an option.
Everybody else does.
I didn't know anybody that didn't work when I was in high school. I didn't know anybody.
I didn't either.
So anyway, if you wonder real quick, we got one more story that I wanted to get to before we left. If you wonder why it seems that extremists, anti-Semitic, nut jobs, climate crazies, they all seem to vote Democrat.
Please don't mince words. Just kind of give it to me straight.
I'll see if I can straighten it up a little bit. Dinesh D'Souza was interviewing this ex-Muslim extremist, and he explained it very, very well. Here's how that went.
I would only vote left. Why is that? I saw them as very stupid. I would fear the conservatives because they come with principle. That's not someone they can brainwash. But the left, I know they have no values and no principles to begin with. I dare you to find one Islamic extremist that votes for Donald Trump. Never do it. They'd give their vote to the leftist who wants to run around in pride parades. And Islamic extremists are against gays and homosexuals and transgenders, but they want the left to go and get busy with that. They want them, go speak about the climate, go speak about abortion, go kill yourselves, go do that. And Omar, she's fighting for abortion rights and all the other, my body, my choice. Yes, go do that, go do that.
What is the fundamentalist and jihadi agenda for America?
The future of America has to be Muslim.
There you go. That's the main focus. So
that's right, because you on the left are too stupid to vote anything that makes sense. Go do that. We don't like you, but go vote that way so we can get it.
Him and I could be friends because we didn't. Neither one of us minced words. They're too stupid. They keep doing stupid things. Goodness
Lordy.
gracious. We need a palate cleanser after all this, though.
Yes.
One of our favorite senators, Markwayne Mullin from Oklahoma, shared a Trump story. It's not really a Trump story. It's a story about his son, but Trump has something to do with it. These are things you don't hear on the mainstream media, even though
heavens, they won't report this kind of stuff. It's good things that have been done for others. And you won't hear any of it.
We
they
can't
will
give
not
Trump,
push it out.
Can't give him any credit for anything. That's just stupid. So here's that story from Senator Markwayne Mullin himself.
We have, like I said, we have 6 kids, and in my family, you wrestle and like it or wrestle and don't like it. So my boys and girls, they all wrestle. So you don't really get a choice. And I have kids that are really good at it. I have 3 that are in college right now. All 3 of my boys, 2 wrestle for Oklahoma State, 1 wrestles for the University of Oklahoma. And the one of them that was arrested for Oklahoma State in January 17th of 2020, he's wrestling in Newton, Kansas, takes a hit to the head. The kid was one of the best in the nation at the time, and had wrestled all over the world. I mean, literally wrestled all over the world by the time he was 14 years old, was undefeated internationally, just really a stud athlete. He gets hit in the head. He looks at me. He says, "Dad, I don't feel good," and he collapsed. His pulse dropped. They couldn't grab a pulse off of him. His lips started turning blue. He had severe oxygen depletion. They rushed him to the hospital. 26 hours later, he wakes up, and he's not even the same kid. I mean, he's a totally different kid. He went from this extreme athlete to where he can't even touch his nose like this. You had to get a belt around him to help him walk. You asked him what year it is, couldn't tell you. Asked him who we were. He knew we were somebody, but he couldn't put mom and dad with it. Asked him what happened, couldn't tell. The only question he got right was Trump. They said, "Who was the president?" And he got this cocky look on his face and goes, "Trump." Now, I'm not offended by it. I'm just hurt that he knew who he was and didn't know who I was. But President Trump found it hilarious. So somehow that got leaked to the news. To this day, I don't know. And at the time, I didn't even care to research it because we were in pediatric ICU. Yeah. But within 3 hours, it was all over national news. And President Trump was one of the first people to call me. And he said, "Hey, what's going on? How can I help?" And I was a mess, man. I mean, my kid wasn't the same. I'm not a crier, but I am now. I mean, seriously, it changed me emotionally. And it's the most helpless feeling you had in your life. And anyways, President Trump, he goes, "And let me get this right." He called me tough guy back then. And he goes, "Let me get this right. Let me get this right. He didn't know who you were, but he remembered who I was. And he thought that was hilarious. And then when I told him how serious it was, his whole thing changed. And I said, "Hey, listen, we've got to go to California. They can't rehab him here. They want us in California in 24 hours to start rehab because it's vitally important." He says, "I'm sending my plane to you." And I said, "Well, he can't fly. He can't go over a certain height altitude. So we got to drive. In fact, we can't even drive through Colorado. We're going to drop down and go through New Mexico, through Flagstaff." And I said, "So I'll let you know when we get there." And he says, "Well, don't worry about anything. We got it taken care of." I was like, "Sir, we're good." I get down there 2 days later. He calls me. He says, "Hey, what's going on? How's my boy doing?" And for 18 months, the guy called every single week and wanted to check on Jim, want to know how Jim's doing. How's Jim doing? And then a month after he was there, he says, "Hey, I'm going to come to we're in Bakersfield, California." He said, "I'm going to come to Bakersfield and see him." So literally, President Trump, president at the time, in the middle of a campaign, this is in 2020, he comes to Bakersfield, California, not really someplace he needs a campaign.
Right.
And he lands, he does a rally, of course, but he did it in a hangar, real small deal. And he sees Jim down there in the chairs. At this time, Jim was still having very short-term memory loss. He was still struggling quite a bit because he went from high school grade level to third grade level. I mean, he had to relearn everything, brother. I mean, everything you can think of. Plus, it stunted his growth. So we're not really tall anyways. I'm 5'9", barely over 5'9", and he's 5'3", because frontal lobe injury will stunt your growth when you're an adolescent. New thing I learned. Jeez. So anyways, President Trump called him on the stage, and right there in the middle, there's hundreds of cameras everywhere, right? President Trump just hugs on him, started loving on him, and started encouraging. Now, he didn't care what was going on else. I mean, he was on stage. And then he kept Jim up there on stage with him the rest of the time, and told a little bit of his story, and then we walked backstage, and he was just loving on your kid. You know, for parents, someone showing affection to your kids, like true love to your kids, not some pervert, but some true love to your kids. Hey, you just found a permanent friend yourself. Yeah. You know, that's somebody that you're willing to go to battle with, and anyways, he just hugging on him, loving on him, just encouraging him. And his team kept coming to him and saying, "Hey, sir, we got to go, and did this 2 or 3 times. And President Trump turned around to him and said, "Hey, guarantee you that plane won't leave without me." That was it. And, you know, and that's President Trump. He set Jim on his lap and just started encouraging him. And I mean, every week for 18 months, the president of the United States, even while he was going through the campaign, even after the campaign, even with everything that was going on, he never failed to call. And every time he called, he always wanted to pay for it. I'd never let him pay for it, but he always wanted to do something. And then when Jim got released, he wanted us to come to Mar-a-Lago. And so all the family went down there and were visiting with him. And President Trump stood up, gave Jim a hug, and he says, "You know why I love your dad?" Jim was like, "No." And he says, "Because of you. I love him because of you. Because I see the love he has for you." Wow. You know, you see a lot of billionaires, millionaires, and less than millionaires that have kids that don't really turn out that well. And if you need to know anything about President Trump, look at his kids. Look at the way that they love him. Look at the way that his grandkids love him. Here's this guy that has a ton of things going on, but he's never too busy to remember family. That tells you that a guy's got his priorities right. And it's something I probably mess up with, something I strive to be better at. And I think if he can do that, there's no excuse why the rest of us can't make time for our family. Because if you lose that priority, I think you've lost everything. But as far as being a father and a leader, the guy's got that right. And I can follow that into any situation.
Man, you got to love that story.
It's just one that you don't hear. And when it comes from the father of the kid that this was being done for, it's not some hearsay or some news report. It's actual what was going on, firsthand information. It doesn't get any better than that. And that's he's done that with so many people. Oh, he's a racist. Yeah, well, there's a story that goes, and there's nothing racist about it.
He wasn't a racist until he ran as a Republican, and then all of a sudden, everybody, Oprah loved him, Whoopi Goldberg loved him, everybody loved him until he started running as a Republican. So so that's where you're at. But anyway, he's not the bad guy that a lot of people like to say. He's got his flaws just like everybody else. But
only what the propaganda machine wants to tell you, and if you want to believe that, it's all a bunch of pahooey. So
it's up to you. You make your choices. But I mean, he's not a bad guy. Anyway, we hope you were somewhat informed and had fun like we did. Don't forget you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Smart Speaker, Rumble, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And sometimes YouTube, and maybe not this time. At any rate, or you can just go to our good old website of StayOffMyLawn.us for all our past and present episodes.
And we'll see you next week, folks.
Doodles, and thanks so much, everybody, for listening. We really appreciate each and every one of you. See you next week. Well, we had fun and hope you did too. The opinions heard here today are not those of anyone other than Mike and Richard. If it made you laugh or go, or even, then we've done our job. Sort of. Mostly anyway. And if we made you think about things in a common sense manner, we welcome you to the club. And if it didn't, then just stay off my lawn. See you next time.